the Director of Executive Functioning Services and of Tutor Development at Private Prep. Do super quick background, which is before Private Prep, I was a teacher in the New York City schools. I oversaw the academic and behavioral interventions at a 6 through 12 school. And then I was also an assistant principal until my children were born. And I went back for a couple weeks and found it untenable. And now here I am at Private Prep, and life is good. I just want to make sure everyone sees the PowerPoint I've got up, because that'll sort of be my cue. Can I get a thumbs up from somebody that the tech is cooperating? Becky gave me a thumbs up. Thanks, Becky. All right, and we'll dive in.
I don't see you.
You won't see me.
Oh, okay.
You'll see the PowerPoint, right? At the end, you'll see me again, but this way we can sort of all just be on the same page a little bit. So here we go, kicking it off. This is a funny schedule that a friend of mine posted. I think it's just worth acknowledging kind of where we all are right now. If I'm honest, this looks close to my schedule. And I know what the best practices are and how to leverage incentives and how to structure the day and break activities. I made a whole schedule for the week on Sunday, and I'm getting out all my supplies in the morning. But it's just still hard. And I think that's worth acknowledging. I debated opening with this is really hard. But I think ultimately honesty and solidarity and recognizing where we are, and that only flexibility and time are going to kind of get us to where we want to be is a fair thing to do. So that's that. And so let's talk, in light of all of that, about reasonable expectations. I think the reality is we're all balancing a great deal right now. Some of us are still working full-time from home while our children are home. Some of us aren't, even if we're not. Many of us feel the need to clean extra, perhaps with less help than we had a couple weeks ago to do all of the things. So it's just, there's a lot, and I think it's worth sort of taking a moment to think about, the children need to learn something, right? But it's not going to be as much as they were learning in school. A big goal in my house is just for us all to get through the day sane, and hopefully to have a little bit of fun, right? I think I really struggled with calling this seminar something having to do with homeschooling, because the reality is what we're doing is not homeschooling, right? It's emergency education triage. That none of us planned to be doing 10 days ago, right? It's super hard. Our kids and we will all settle into something at some point, and then it'll start to feel okay. But I think it's important right now to just have reasonable expectations of ourselves, and also a plug for the teachers, also of the teachers, because they weren't planning on this any more than we were 10 days ago. And it's new for all of them also, right? So I think as they settle, it will also make our lives a little bit easier. Okay. First things first, I think it's important to take a step back, and just identify your priorities, because I'm finding that I personally am overwhelmed by the number of resources that are currently available. And we don't need to incorporate all of them, right? And lots of families are doing really exciting and cool things or creative things, but their needs might be different than ours, right? So just a couple that I think are worth considering up front, right? Obviously, mental and physical health is, right? Physical health is what's driving this whole thing, and mental health for ourselves, right? The sanity piece, and for our kids. I think I'm trying to stay very cognizant of the fact that just like I'm shocked by the isolation and by the not seeing the people I'm used to see. The same is true of my children. And they likely have less capacity to deal with those emotions than I do. And so that's going to manifest itself some way, somehow, right? So mental and physical health is a priority for me. I think also the idea of seat time is an important one to just take a moment and think about. It's easy, I think, to fall into the trap of feeling like from 7:30 to 2:30 or 9:30 to 3:30 or whatever your school schedule is, you need to have your kids sort of on lockdown, being productive and banging out something. But the reality is, and I'm using New York State numbers. I know not everyone's in New York, but I am. So they're the numbers I know off the top of my head. And New York tends to be as strict as anywhere with their numbers. So probably we're okay here. Um, Elementary kids really during the school day end up with about 3 hours of core academic instruction. Right. And if you think about that's with groups and teachers have time for everybody to get distracted together and to transition. So if we convert that to home, like I'm feeling pretty good if my kids are engaged for 2 to 2.5 hours. And then in high school, obviously it looks different, but even there, the state, New York State, requires 5.5 hours of seat time, and that's not all academic core instruction, right? You've got your electives, you've got your PE, so it's probably safe to feel more like 4 hours, 4.5 hours is totally reasonable within what's going on in the school day. And that to me feels more doable, and I like it. Other considerations are what does your family need, right? We all have different situations right now. Some families have everybody home, and that looks one way. Some people have everybody home and everybody working, not everybody working, right? One parent not home, two parents not home, bigger kids, smaller kids. And so I think just being honest about what needs to happen is important. And then also, it's easy to think about a daily schedule, but also just thinking about the week and how that varies. Do your schedules rotate? Does Friday need to look different than the rest of the week? I know someone wrote in a question about weekend schedules, right? Do you want a weekend schedule? Is the weekend able to be more flexible? And sort of just be clear for yourself about what the deal is with all of those things. I didn't say this earlier. I should have. I'm sorry. If anyone needs me to either slow down or clarify something, feel free to unmute yourself and just like yell a question at me. In the speaker view, I can't see everyone's face. So if you're like raising your hand, I have no idea. Lovely. All right. So those are the early considerations. I think these aren't big priority setting situations, but just other things to include potentially besides academic work, chores, awesome. I think everyone in my house feels very much at their full capacity. And so I have my kids doing more chores than they did before we were all home all the time. Uh, this is potentially a great opportunity to increase independence and responsibility a little bit. And we can talk about what that looks like, right? Right? Maybe we're rotating who cooks dinner. Maybe, if you've got younger kids, my 4-year-old paired all my socks today. So there's something that kind of anybody can tackle. I think also potentially, again, depending on family dynamics and people's interest, right? But if parents are home and people can do it, kind of building in that time deliberately to do something together, right? To take on a project that you otherwise wouldn't have time to do, to teach your kids something that is not school, um, right? To, organize a room together. I know a lot of people are doing big time spring cleaning, right? So you can build those sorts of things into your schedule. Screen time guidelines, I think, is a big one and a big struggle right now. School is now entirely on the screen. Um, and a lot of kids would like to do more things on the screen. So just sort of as you set different blocks of the day, it's worth indicating if this is a block where it's okay to have a screen or it's not okay to have a screen. I say that fully recognizing that you are potentially setting yourselves up for a battle. Um, if you're a week and a half in and you've not yet fought that battle, my inclination would be to say, kind of take some time, decide what battles you want to fight, set your schedule, and lay the groundwork in your house that, come Monday of next week, we're going to start like this and have a real conversation about why that's true. If you've got older kids, involve them in the conversation about making those decisions. If you've kind of just been on spring break up till now, I think the beginning of like now we're back in school is always the best time to kind of tighten things. Uh, pardon me. Planning time, this one I think is key. I don't know, again, the districts, it's so hard to kind of give advice to everybody all the time because all the school districts are doing such radically different things. But I know a lot of them are posting work first thing in the morning. And in my experience, the amount of work and the type of work is varying pretty significantly day to day. And so the idea of the first bit of your daily schedule being to make a plan for that day is huge. And you can still have a schedule and know that you're going to have to adjust it, right? So you can have academic blocks and blocks that are more project based or interest based or fine, go on your phone for 45 minutes or half an hour. Better half an hour than 45 minutes. But then plan those academic blocks when you wake up first thing in the morning or when you're able to access Google Classroom or whatever it is that your school is posting on. And then accountability. I think this was another question that came up several times, and it's super hard because I think a lot of us are used to negative accountability, and there's not a whole lot else we can take away at this point, right? Like, you'll be grounded. Well, right? What are we all doing every day right now? So I think if you can get creative about accountability and try to do so from a more positive angle, and define that up front, you'll be more successful. So things like the kids who do these things will be able to do these other things, right? So maybe they're earning their screen time through following the rest of the schedule or whatever other rules you set up. Maybe they're earning things to pursue their interests, right? If they are an artist, maybe they can earn new paint sets or whatever it is by doing things, right? Because again, we're all going to need to find ways to fill our time, and we can make that more enjoyable by doing well and participating in the family schedule. Good on that? I feel like that maybe is an area where people want to talk more. No, no, fine and good. All right. So we talked a little bit about goals. I'm going to go quickly over this slide. Um, the idea of preventing black backslide, that was hard for me to say, is one that somebody also raised in a question. I mean, look, if we're honest, that's the kids are not going to likely learn as much, at least in these first couple weeks of homeschool, as they were in the classroom, right? I've got teacher friends who are trying to figure out how to deliver new material effectively through Google Classroom, right? It's not a thing they were thinking about. But as far as preventing backslide, I think you're really in decent shape as long as you have your kids really engaging each day. And obviously, what that looks like is going to be different depending on the age and on your ability to engage in the work with them. If backslide is your biggest worry, you'll obviously have larger academic blocks. And this is a place too where potentially private prep can help you out in that, you can engage a tutor. We're doing also group lessons. So if there's 3 kids in a similar class, it can be both a social opportunity and opportunity to make sure they're staying up on whatever's going on in their classes. But if that's a main concern of yours, obviously you'll just make it a more central part of your schedule. Right? Good. Schedule types. All right, getting into the nitty gritty. I think some of these are more or less useful depending on the age of the kids. I think for high schoolers, generally a block schedule at home is going to tend to make the most sense, again, because you're going to want that big chunk of time that's devoted to academics and is pretty flexible for them to plan each day. Um, and then you might have additional chunks of time that are smaller and opportunities to be physically active or engage in interests or things of that sort. For elementary students, I really like the idea of a task-oriented schedule, right? So you're sort of just giving them, and even middle school actually like this, you're giving them a set of things to do each day, right? And so maybe one of those things is do their academics, another one is some chore, a third one might be just to free read. And if you set how long each of those takes, then they can decide the order that they do them in and sort of just check them off throughout the day and be checking in with you. Other ones that some people, again, I don't know if we have anyone here from Maryland, but I know most of the Maryland school districts are giving no work as of the moment. And so it's just totally up to the families to figure out what to do. If that's any of you, I highly recommend the idea of like a daily theme, just to give yourself a bit of structure. And then traditional schedules, honestly, I think in the current environment that's hard, but you can certainly try to keep up a period schedule. Um, just sounds really difficult to me, but maybe your house is very different from my house. It is entirely possible. All right. A couple best practices that I've seen in some of the schedules that I've thought are awesome. Um, One family that I saw gave each of their kids a schedule, right? They're similar schedules, a little bit of variance, but there was one shared family chore list, and everybody was just expected to participate in that during their chore time. And it was one space where everyone could see what had gotten done. And I like the idea of collaborating as a family on that front. I already talked about the daily planning time, so I'll skip over that now. I apologize for the redundancy in the PowerPoint. As you can imagine, this PowerPoint was made rather quickly because everything is moving at the speed of light these days. I think another really great practice is to alternate the types of blocks and time that you have your children spending. It's hard to sit and just do 3 hours straight of academics, or 4 hours if you've got a high schooler. So break that up by alternating movement or creative things for them to do, or even just eating food. Whatever it is, try to rotate through different kinds of activities. And I also really do like the idea of separating screen time from other activities. There is academic work that the kids can do and are being assigned, at least as far as I know, in any of the cases I'm aware of, without a screen. Um, Rather than setting up a situation where children are sitting literally all day with their phone or their computer in front of them and might try to read a little bit, but the phone's right here, right? Try to do a little bit of math, but the computer is sitting here. Try to set aside a bit of academic time that is screen free, I think is super powerful and healthy. And then another question that several people asked was tied to executive functioning, right? And just attention. During this, I'm at home all day managing my own education, maybe with some help from parents who don't have to work. Uh, I think the reality is it will be hard, right? And I think just acknowledging that up front and knowing that it's difficult for your child and sort of understanding that and being ready to sympathize is going to be huge. For students who struggle with executive functioning, you absolutely positively want a visual calendar, ideally one where they can check off different pieces of the calendar as they work through them. Super low cost way to do that is just to get a page protector and stick a piece of paper in there, right? And they can mark it with a marker and wipe off the page protector every day. Using actual physical timers is very helpful for students who struggle with executive functioning. If you don't have an actual physical timer in your house, there's lots of timers that you can download as apps. I'm a big fan of Pomodoro method for students who are distractible and struggle with focus. The Pomodoro method is really just this idea that you take short bits of time, about 20 minutes, to try and do focused work, and then short breaks, so about 5-minute breaks. And after several cycles, then you get a longer break. And it's much easier for students who have ADHD or executive functioning deficits to work through a 20-minute burst of focus and just know that in 20 minutes they get a break than it is to work without knowing when they get to stop. That's talking about leveraging the breaks. I think putting the breaks on the daily schedule is extremely helpful for students who struggle with executive functioning. And working together, obviously we're working together on all the things, but I even mean just working in the same space. So Becky has seen my daughter on many of our morning phone calls because when I'm working, she's sitting on the floor in front of me doing her work, and we're just creating a space where we're all trying to focus together. And that's helpful. I think the other thing is that this period of time potentially offers us a great opportunity for daily reflection, which can challenge our students to think about how they could do better, what went well today, what didn't go well. For the thing that didn't go well, what's something I can try tomorrow? And really to sort of track those sorts of reflections and use this as a way for the student to get to know themselves as a learner, is potentially an awesome silver lining. That was a lot, but I did pretty good. We have 5 minutes left for questions. 30 minutes is a quick webinar, folks. And I'll stop screen sharing because now, in theory, I can see your faces, except no one has their cameras on, so very few faces to be seen.
You can see my face now.
I can, it's nice. Hi, Erin.
No, I was going to ask you, I was interested in the Pomodoro method, like how can we learn more about it? I definitely have a child who has those. I don't want to say too
Okay,
much.
so a couple ideas there. I can talk about it really fast, but I don't know if I can totally do it in 5 minutes.
Okay.
We've got executive functioning coaches that are really ready and happy to do one-off sessions with families to just sort of talk through your individual challenges and help you come up with some plans and some tools.
Right.
Also, based on any follow-up questions that you guys have, I have a feeling I'm going to be churning out the blogs. Becky's nodding. I think that's a little bit
That's
of
fine. I can refer.
We can email them in the like a follow-up email too. We also just posted an organizational one that Jenna wrote the other day too today. So we'll send that in the recap with the recording too.
Okay, great.
We just get Jenna to post blogs all day.
blogs all the time.
Someone's asking a question on chat.
I have a question. Hi.
Hi, Jess.
Hi. If I have a student in elementary school, I liked the idea of the task-oriented list, but I wasn't able to write them down fast enough. So you said like free read, academics. What were some of the other ideas?
Yeah, I'll tell you, that's what I had. That was my first one with Lily Faye. So we had free read. I actually had her read to her brother because then they were both occupied for half an hour, which was amazing. Yeah, academic. I had everybody doing a half hour of helping me, which might be cooking or a random chore. We got a puppy, which was either the smartest thing or the silliest thing we did. Literally the Saturday, the day after the schools closed, we went and got a puppy.
Do we get to see the puppy?
Not right this second. We can send a picture of Susie.
How's that going for you?
And so she has to walk the dog. You can do journaling, right? Just kind of what was a good part of your day with an elementary kid. I have lots brainstormed in a spot that I can send you also. Let me throw,
Okay, that would be great.
well, actually, Becky, in the follow-up, will you just include my email? If I told you I have something that I can share, feel free to just email me directly and I can send people stuff, or Becky will remind me to include it in the follow-up.
And we'll include some of the resources. So we'll probably send it out like later today or later tomorrow, and we'll include some of these resources too.
Okay, thank you.
We also have blogs on like organization and a few things like that. So I might link those too to help people out.
Great, thank you.
Could I ask a question? Do you hear me?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. So is it better to have the kids stay in their rooms? I have a 15-year-old and a 13-year-old. Is it better that they stay in their rooms, do their homework, or that they come to the kitchen and I have an eye on them? I'm kind of going between, meddling in their business and seeing what they're doing, or letting them be and navigating themselves on how to, I don't know what to do.
Interesting. I think that's going to depend a great deal on like how your family interacts and your kids' personalities.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm even just thinking of like all the students I've known. Some of the students I'd be like, great, go in your room, no problem. And some kids I'd be like, no, you come out every 20 minutes. I need to know what's going on. So I guess that's the first question is like, how confident are we that they're doing good things when they're in their room all day? I would also just be inclined, even if it's a kid who we expect to be very responsible,
Yes.
to interact a little bit during the day. So even if you just say like, cool, you're working in your room, but let's all eat lunch together, if that's a possibility at your house. Or like, let's all take 20 minutes in the morning and 20 minutes in the afternoon and walk around our block.
That's what I did. That's so funny. I went walking with both of them. With my son, I went a 20-minute walk, and with my daughter, a 20-minute walk. And I just feel like I want to know what I want to hear the reflection. So,
I mean, you could also make that part of the end of your day, right?
Yeah.
Like, so at the end of the
But
day,
they
I want
don't
to hear
talk
from
to me.
everybody what you did.
Yeah.
Or in the morning, they don't talk to you. You could make
No. When I walk with them, they're forced to talk to me. You know what I mean? Then I ask them questions. They don't know that I'm like, taking I'm recording in my head what they're saying, because I just want to see where they're at with everything.
I mean, that sounds like it's working and is perfect, right?
But today the weather was good. We could walk.
I know yesterday was
The
terrible.
weather's not-
I mean, the other thing you can do if you just want to have an idea of what they're planning for the day is say, like, everyone can go in their room after they give me their plan for the day, right?
What
Just
do you mean by plan for the day? Like a schedule of?
Well, what's your school district doing? Are they posting on Google Classroom?
Yeah.
So if all the teachers, how old are your kids?
15 and 13.
Yeah, so they probably have a number of
grader.
different teachers posting different types of work.
Yeah.
And if they make no plan about how to execute that, like what order are you going to do it in? What resources do you need to be able to do it? Did all the links work? I have found that like several of the things my kids' teachers have posted, I've clicked to the link and I've been like, that's not the thing you said it was going to be.
Oh, wow.
So I think just a little bit of like, did you check all your classes and do you feel like you're able to do all that work is sort of the plan piece, even if you've got a schedule or don't feel like you need a strict schedule.
Is it better to do the harder stuff first and then the easier stuff, or easier than harder? What do you recommend?
Ellie's nodding. I also feel like that depends on the kids. Some kids, I think it's great for them to get the hard stuff out of the way, and then they feel like they can kind of easily get through the rest of the day. Some kids really struggle to initiate if the first thing they're going to do is extremely difficult, and it's good to get rolling with something that's easier.
I see. Are you you're all three teachers? Tutors at private prep?
All three.
Ellie, Gary, Jenna, and Becky.
Ellie's.
I'm in marketing. Yeah, I'm in marketing.
Oh, and Jenna, you're a tutor?
I tutor a tiny bit, but I'm our director of executive functioning, and I also do the tutor development, so I oversee the training of our tutors.
I see. And Ellie is a parent, or she's with the private prep?
No, I am a parent, but I am.
Okay.
I tutor privately, executive functioning, all types of academic skills, not content tutoring in Jersey. And our kids in my district in Jersey at least are doing Google Classroom. And I was saying before, I really don't know how to fit my skill set in with their needs. But I'm picking up some ideas here just to shoot out. Do we have a moms group, like it's called Work Moms, where moms who work in town are on this tremendous listserv. Hundreds and hundreds of moms in town, and we exchange ideas and we sell our kitchen sets and we ask for, a good place for vacation, and we say, where can you buy sneakers? And we say, it's like a tremendous array of like a clearinghouse of exchanges. And so it's been fantastic for something like this. And so I'm just gonna send a lot of this stuff out. I'm gonna put it together because I like the idea of kind of segments of the day, to set up a schedule, not just your academic schedule, but other stuff schedule.
Yeah.
And like, how do you overlap with other members of the family? So somebody said, I think Jenna said something about siblings, where I had an idea. So like, let's just say there's 2 kids. So 20 minutes you have to play a game that your sibling wants, and the next 20 minutes you
Sorry,
play
I
the
just
game.
want to redirect Ellie because we told people we were going to be 30 minutes. So if anyone else has questions,
I have a quick question.
Go ahead, Deborah.
Hi. Well, first of all, my grandkids are 3, so this doesn't pertain to them too much. Although my daughter's really good. We do have scheduled time and we're doing things with them. But I'm curious if someone could tell me briefly, how are the schools doing it? They're using Google Classroom. Do the teachers interact with the students?
It's varying extremely widely, right? So some districts are using all Google Classroom, but no live sessions. Some districts are having a combination of Google Classroom and live sessions. Like I said, Maryland, most of the districts have literally done 0 things. Some districts I know sent home a 10-day packet sometime last week, and they're planning to go live remote starting next week.
Okay.
Some districts I'm aware of on Long Island anyway, already had, all the teachers had digital classrooms before this on various different platforms, and they haven't done anything united. So every teacher for themselves, as long as they post something.
Okay, so it varies.
Yeah.
And some are using just what, PowerPoints or assignments online?
Assignments online, there's amazing resources that have become free thanks to lots of companies as a result of everyone being locked in.
Okay.
We'll actually share some of the ones we recommend soon.
Okay.
I'll finish that blog tomorrow. So there's all, like, I have my kids are younger, clearly, doing Olaf, the actor who played Olaf is reading a story every day. There's astronauts reading stories every day. They're they're doing some story time every day that is live, not with their teacher, but with some random person that I find on the internet. There's zoos that are doing daily safari things where they kind of give an intro to an animal. So there's all kinds of things going on. And I think most of the school districts are saying that they're offering something so that kids have an opportunity to learn, so that they're still sort of meeting the demands that the state puts on them, right? I think the schools are currently still in a very iffy situation because it's not clear what counts and what doesn't as a school day, and if we're counting school days at all anymore. But the school districts are saying, if as parents you want to go find other things, that's also great.
Okay.
Jenna, can you send out emails? I'm sorry to interrupt you. Can you send out emails on executive functioning to us on how, like, just some, if you have anything to, cause I think it's just, I'm not sure. The academic part, I think they're okay at. It's the executive functioning part that I think I wasn't, the eating, like all of a sudden I decide, let's have lunch, or I decide like, and I don't think it's right of me to decide for them when they should. I kind of feel like I'm interrupting their study time.
That's where
I don't know what I'm supposed to.
comes in.
Huh?
that's where if you have a schedule, like in
Yeah,
I know,
well,
I
a
don't know how to
schedule,
do, I
or
don't know how
that's
to do
a
it. I
thing,
don't know how,
like, that kids can, right, potentially, right, with older kids, you do want them managing it
I
themselves,
do, but
right?
exactly. But then I don't know how to do executive functioning because I haven't had to do it in the
Jenna
day.
also, in the new blog that Jenna just wrote that we posted, she has some example schedules too, which I think will be really
Excellent.
helpful. So I'll send those out, and then you can definitely
Please.
email Jenna too if you have any specific questions. Just because, sorry,
Okay.
we're running a little late, but
Sure,
we have
sure.
some.
Jenna, what is your email? I don't have your email.
I'll send it out as like
You'll
a
send it out.
thank you
Okay,
for
thank you so much.
attending. Yeah, I'll put a bunch of links to different things probably by like end of day tomorrow. We'll put a
Thank
bunch
you
of
so
links
much.
to things. Yeah. You guys, everyone's in the same boat. There's a lot of stuff going on. You're
A
all
lot.
doing the best you can, and I can't even imagine doing it with kids. So we're definitely here to support and help and start these
Thank you.
conversations, but we'll share some resources we have that can probably
I
help.
really appreciate, you guys were great, really. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
so
Our
much.
pleasure. Thanks,
And
everybody,
thank you,
for joining.
Jenna. Thank you,
Thank
Jenna. We
you.
appreciate it.
Thank
Good
you.
Nice to
night.
meet you. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Stay
Have a
safe
great
and
evening.
sane.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.